Hey, bruv. Gonna need my belts back, man. So, Anthony Joshua took out Andy Ruiz Jr. This is episode 104, Combat Sports Talk. Let's get into it. Welcome to Combat Sports Talk, a podcast dedicated to UFC and Bellator discussion, the MMA community, and combat sports in general. I'm your host, Ryan Smith, and joining me this week is the double champ, G Money, George Stallworth, and KC Onyebuchi. First time since we've been back. What's up, guys?
What is going on, Ryan? Good to be back.
It's good to finally be on here with you two.
Right.
All right. Yeah, so, hey, I was trying to do my South London accent. It didn't work out very well.
Trash.
Absolute
trash.
Hey, bruv,
South
man needs his belts back,
London?
man. South London, that's Anthony Joshua.
You know, when I heard the accent, I didn't quite put the two together, but it's probably more so because the accent was horrible, not because of any other reason. You tried.
I tried. Anthony Joshua, that's the big thing to talk about this show. We're going to get right into the headliner. All right, this is our headliner. This is the number one topic that we want to talk about. And Andy Ruiz Jr. lost to Anthony Joshua in the rematch. As you may remember, a few months ago, Anthony Joshua was making his debut in the U.S. All of his fights have been out of the country, right? And then he came into the United States, first fight against Andy Ruiz Jr., and it didn't go so well. He got knocked out in the 7th round. So now he's getting his rematch this past weekend. Came back and just blew up Andy Ruiz Jr., outclassed him, and I think it was 12-round fight. There you go.
Yeah, so one of us called it. Who was that again?
I don't know how true this is. I'm sorry. I said I don't know how true this is. What did Ruiz come in on weigh-in?
283. The man was out.
How many pounds did he miss weight by?
Well, you can't miss weight at heavyweight. You can't miss weight at heavyweight.
I thought you could go over. I thought the limit was 265.
No. The heaviest once you get to 206, you're heavyweight.
Huh. Well, you got a shot
boxing?
still.
In boxing, yeah.
They don't have like a super heavyweight. Okay.
There may be some that have a super heavyweight.
All I'm saying is, sounds like Ruiz was out partying and not preparing for this fight.
I mean, it was clear that something was off on the first fight. So I think in his heart of hearts, he knew he didn't have a shot against Anthony Joshua, like a fully healthy, nothing going on, ready to fight Anthony Joshua. Ruiz never stood a shot.
Well, I don't know. We were looking at his hand speed. There's a lot of people who were talking about the fact that it was, the toughness and the hand speed that, Andy Ruiz Jr. brought into the ring that was going to make this a fight. But, a lot of people were saying, and even Andy Ruiz Jr. came back later and said, hey, perhaps I didn't train as much as I should have. Perhaps I wasn't fully prepared for this fight. And this is the outcome. So he wants to have a rubber match. He wants to have that rematch. But I don't think anybody wants to see that.
Nah. No, I think Ruiz has.
No, man. They're 1-1-1. So 1-1 rather.
So yeah, well, I mean, that's it. But I want to see. We've got some big fights coming up. We'll talk about that a little bit later in the show. I want to see the Anthony Joshua versus Deontay Wilder. Like, that's the fight I want to see. That's the fight the world wants to see. I don't need to see whether or not Andy Ruiz Jr. can lose some weight and try to make it a more competitive fight. I feel like the fight that we saw this past weekend was the fight we were expecting the first time.
Right. Yep.
So, it's like, okay, we don't need to see this again. Let's go on. There are two other big fighters Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder. Those are the people that we want to see Joshua against. I'm looking forward to that. All right, that's the headliner. Let's get into, there were a lot of fights coming on this past weekend. Let's get into the official decision. This is the official decision. This is where we look at the fights and the results from this past weekend. And we had a lot of action going on. First thing I want to do, George, I want to talk a little bit about Dominion Fighting Championships taking place at Dominion Gym in Richardson, Texas. You were the referee of a bunch of up-and-coming fighters who were getting their first taste of live sparring action.
Yes. What'd you think, man?
So I was excited, man. There were so many good up and coming fighters. You know, I got some fans. I'm a fan of this one gentleman. His name is Romel Canales. That guy.
Yeah.
Great story. We've got a link to him on our website, www.combatsportstalk.com. Just click on the fighters and you'll see an interview that we did with him right after his fight. He's a great guy. There's a bunch of great guys, and we've got a new fighter section.
Nice, wasn't he?
He was super nice too. We got a new fighter section on our website, so you can see as we get to meet and interview some of these up and coming fighters here in the state of Texas. You guys are going to get to meet these guys as well. Maybe you'll follow them and see them in the UFC, Bellator, or fighting for glory someday. So, you know, that's going to be a really, really awesome thing. So I just wanted to have a little bit of a shout out to Dominion Fighting Championships, Dominion Gym, letting us come in there and interview some of the fighters because they had a great event. Now, let's go to Combat Americas, Tito versus Alberto. This was Saturday, December 7th, 2019, in the Payne Arena in Hidalgo, Texas. What's so funny, KC?
I mean, the fact that Tito's still fighting is hilarious in its own right.
Tito is still fighting, and he is fighting and winning. I mean, he's fighting a bunch of old guys. You know,
I'm like,
I mean, Alberto El Patron Rodriguez had a longer stint in WWE than he did as an MMA fighter. But, you know, Combat Americas were having their very first pay-per-view. It was taking place in Hidalgo, Texas, which doesn't seem like a big mecca of fighting to me.
nah.
I mean, personally, I think Richardson, Texas is a bigger fight place than Hidalgo, but
Shouts out to Dominion.
Right.
But, you know, the thing is, they were having their first event, and, you know, Combat Americas is really more of a Mexican, Hispanic type of a promotion. And so, you know, Tito Ortiz coming in, he's a California Huntington Beach bad boy versus Alberto Rodriguez, El Patron. He's coming up, you know, from Mexico. You know, they were really trying to create this America versus Mexico thing. As Tito Ortiz was wearing his Trump 2020 branded flaming shorts. There were people in the audience with the red MAGA hats rooting for Tito. Like, it was a microcosm of what we're going to see this weekend. And so that's like, I don't want to steal our thunder for later in the show, but we got a microcosm of what we're going to see this weekend, where you had Tito Ortiz coming in as the American, the bad, you know, quote, Trump supporter. And then you had the fan, the people's champ or whatever, El Patron Rodriguez, coming in to fight him. Now, unfortunately, for those people who might have been against Tito Ortiz, this fight was all Tito Ortiz. Tito Ortiz took him down, beat him up, and choked him out in the first round. It wasn't even competitive. And there were some people who were pretty disappointed.
It's strange to me to consider it a competitive fight when you're fighting literally no one. It'd be like Tito beating me up. Like, congratulations, buddy. I guess I'm not seeing the point of his continued career at this time.
Well, you know, something that we're not going to talk too much about. It was edited for time, if you will. But Tito Ortiz has gone on record saying he thinks he could beat John Jones.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping we were gonna to hint toward. So it's like he's clearly delusional. It's yeah. But congrats on the win. Congrats. Don't fight me.
Or not. I mean, if you're making statements that can never even come to fruition,
Yeah.
And you're garnering attention. I mean, we're talking about it, so
I
maybe
guess
he
it
does,
worked.
have something there. Not that he could ever beat John. I'm just saying the fact that he would say something like that knows it could never occur in real life.
Yeah, I mean, who would ever sanction that fight? But the other thing, since we're on Tito Ortiz, the other thing that he's doing is there is a YouTube sensation known as Logan Paul. I don't know if you guys know Logan Paul, but he has made lots and lots of money fighting another internet sensation named KSI in boxing matches. They've had 2 boxing matches. The last one netted about $900,000 for like an exhibition fight. And so Tito Ortiz is trying to help him transition into the MMA world. I think that he may be the new protege of Tito Ortiz that was vacated by Chris Cyborg, who no longer is under the tutelage of Tito Ortiz.
Yeah, that whole
Do we know
KSI
why
Logan Paul
that
thing
occurred?
is trash.
So, so George, you were saying, why did Chris Cyborg stop the being managed by Tito Ortiz? Tito Ortiz left Chris Cyborg after complaining that her boyfriend was taking over and being disruptive. I thought the way that Tito Ortiz was talking, it seemed like Tito Ortiz did not agree with some of the decisions that she was making around pushing Dana White in the UFC, which may have been coming from her boyfriend. And so, therefore, that may be why Chris Cyborg ended up getting cut from the UFC, and now she's in Bellator. And Tito Ortiz is like, listen, my job was to get you in the UFC and get you a career, and you've kind of squandered it all. I'm out. Peace.
Fair enough.
All right, let's move on. Mark of Greatness. There was some ONE FC action. Basically, there were 2 championship fights: a strawweight kickboxing world championship and a bantamweight kickboxing world championship. Casey, if you're looking at the run sheet, I'm gonna go ahead and let you read those off for me.
You're a despicable human being, but you know
Put him on the spot. Put him on the spot.
Sam Aga from Thailand defeated Wang Zhongguai from China
by unanimous decision. Next one.
The next one was Alverdi Ramazanov. Wait, hold on. Alverdi Ramazanov defeated Zhang Chenglong. You were a jerk for making me read this off the spot. I didn't practice this a single time. You are, I'm on record being trash. This is like when the teacher calls who wants to read next, and then she just picks you and you're on the wrong page. Well, this is alphabet soup, and that's coming from a guy named Kelechi Onyebuchi.
All right, and last, UFC on ESPN 7, Overeem versus Rozenstruik. This was Saturday, December 7, 2019, at Capital One Arena in Washington, D.C. There were 6 fights on the card. We'll run through the results real quick, and then we'll get into the Rozenstruik versus Overeem fight. Rob Font defeated Ricky Simon via unanimous decision. Cody Stamen had a majority draw with Song Yadong. Aspen Ladd defeated Yana Kunitskaya via TKO in round 3. Ben Rothwell defeated Stefan Struve in the second round via TKO, but there were a ton of groin strikes, man. Every time I looked at the screen, because we were all, by this point, we were at the Lion of the Crown. Every time I looked at the screen, Stefan Struve was sitting on the ground trying to recover. Cynthia Calvello had a majority draw with Marina Rodriguez. Now, we watched this fight, guys. Y'all were in the corner of Rodriguez? Y'all felt like she had done enough to win. I thought Cynthia Calvillo had done enough to win. Apparently,
Yeah.
we were both right.
Based on takedowns alone,
Takedowns and ground and pound, baby.
What? Yeah.
there was only one
What
round where
fight was he
Cynthia
watching?
ground and pound.
We were both right. Why y'all
Wait,
complaining?
what rounds do you give to Calvillo?
Rounds
No,
1 and 3.
the judges were all wrong.
1 and
Yeah,
3.
so what I liked about it, though, is Rodriguez has some amazing striking. I felt like she didn't take advantage of her height very well, like allowing those takedowns and allowing Calvillo to get inside. But overall, I think she's going to be awesome.
Yep. And then in the main event, you want to read the main event?
No, I'm good.
Jairzinho Rozenstruik defeated Allistar
Say that
Overeem.
again.
Jairzinho.
Nailed it.
Yeah, I nailed it. It's Jairzinho.
Let me hear it one more time.
Jairzinho
Jairzinho
Rozenstruik. Rozenstruik.
Rozenstruik. Okay.
Jairzinho
All right.
Rozenstruik defeated Allistar Overeem via knockout destruction face removal.
Face ripoff.
Face ripoff.
With how many seconds? How many
4
seconds
seconds left. 4 seconds left.
Oh my!
It was a tough fight to watch, just start to finish, because there wasn't a ton of action. You got Overeem, I felt that way, just because Overeem was really hesitant in the first 2 rounds. I felt like he was reading them out. Spent a lot of time reading Rozenstruik. And Rozenstruik didn't really let loose at any point during the fight until the very end.
I definitely agree there. Rozenstruik, I felt like, was very timid, almost scared in his striking, and that was not what I was expecting from him at all. As a result, Overeem was winning that fight.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I agree. You know, for me, I was yelling at the screen like, why doesn't Rozenstruik just go in? Like, every time he would throw a punch, Overeem would overcompensate to get out of the way. It's like, dude, throw more than one punch and you'll probably start landing. And so finally, in the 5th round, when he had nothing left to lose, and let me just say, I shout out to him for realizing that he was losing the fight on the cards and then just going all out, you know, Deontay Wilder style. Trying to finish the fight because he wasn't going to win on the cards, and 4 seconds left, he catches him. You know what they say? You gotta be perfect for 5 rounds. I only gotta be perfect for 1 second. That's what you know. Paraphrasing Deontay Wilder on that one. All right, that's it. That is the official decision. Now it's time to go into the headlines that are making waves in the UFC world with Finding the Angles. This is Finding the Angles. This is where we look at the headlines that are making waves in the wake of all the action that's taking place on the weekend. And we have a lot of stuff since we weren't here last week. We've got a lot of stuff to cover up from last week. So let's get into it. Drug watchdogs, change in policy. So the UFC is governed by the USADA, the U.S. Anti-Doping Agency, which is a subsidiary of the World Anti-Doping Agency, which is called WADA. And so WADA's been changing some of their policies that is now potentially going to affect USADA. So basically, because WADA, the World Anti-Doping Agency, has now started looking at marijuana metabolites in a different light, and they're being a little bit more tolerant, that could mean UFC fighters who have largely been in trouble with the UFC because of their use of marijuana, whether it's for medical purposes or recreational, now may have some level of recourse with the changing drug policies. So let's go with you, George, first. What do you think about these changing drug policies? I know that you had a very strong opinion about things that were going on with that topic.
Well, I feel like, one, what are they going to do retrospectively in regards to fighters that they've sanctioned and treated horribly as a result? Two, one of the more pressing issues, and I think we discussed it some time ago, was about specifically the metabolites and the pulsing effect, and certain fighters now being allowed to continue on and compete, regardless of coming up with a hot screen or a hot test for something, because there's this pulsing effect out. Or Nate Diaz, Nate, for example. Nate tested hot for something, correct?
Correct.
You with me there?
Yep.
But was allowed to go ahead and fight, regardless of that positive drug screen. And they said because, one, I think they said the levels weren't enough to affect the fight. Two, they found that it was tainted supplement. And wasn't there a third issue why they said?
I don't recall whether or not there was a third issue. I just know that it was considered an atypical result, and they wanted to do some further investigation.
I like the fact that USADA has adjusted their policies, but I'm upset because they haven't gone back to recompensate or compensate those fighters who may have been unjustly characterized and slandered as a result of their previous policies.
What do you think, Casey?
Yeah, it's hard to add more to that. Just I kind of agree with everything that you're saying as far as like there's got to be some retroactive actions that happen here. I think it's a little weird that I think there was mention of other drugs beyond marijuana being lumped into that, and that kind of brings up other fighters such as like John Jones passed, and that's that gets a little iffy. Like, so marijuana is good, not to be like all drugs are the same, but there's
cocaine is a hell of a drug,
right? I mean, I was trying to find a nice way to dance around that, but I mean, in some ways, it really is a performance enhancement drug when we're talking about cocaine.
Joe Rogan,
I smoke rocks, so it's a little weird. I don't know. I'm not fully on board. I feel like USADA as a whole is kind of tainted. It's broken, and I'm glad to see them moving in the right direction, but it's a little bit late for them to salvage their reputation. I've hurt a lot of fighters' careers.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. I'm just the thing for me is that you have rules. Once you start seeing the impact of those rules, then you should be changing them to make them better. Like you have to have evidence that the rules are not working, or there's a problem, or there's some type of issue with the rules in order to change them. Like I don't know how you go from having zero oversight over a sport when it comes to drug usage and things like that, to having oversight and then expecting to get that perfectly right the first time. They saw that there were fighters who were getting false positives. They saw that there were fighters who were being wrongly accused, and now the policies are changing. And so now what you have is, instead of it being a zero policy and you get outed when you have an atypical result, now there are ranges upon which you can that if you have an atypical result, but you're below the range of it being a performance enhancing, then you're not suspended. You're not allowed to fight until that has cleared your system, or otherwise, it has reached a certain level. But now there are provisions, because what they realize is that there are fighters who can take supplements, and those can be tainted. That creates these unintended consequences that are not designed for a person to cheat or gain some advantage. So the rules have changed, and I think that that's a good thing.
USADA, you got any more of those picograms?
Oh, gosh. Let's move on.
I'm going there, man. I'm waiting on Izzy Adesanya to make a meme right now of Tyrone Biggums and John Jones and talking to USADA about some picograms. It's going to happen.
Oh, man.
But that's all I'm saying is it's going to be interesting to see how the playing field does or doesn't level out as a result of this, and who Are we going to see what we would think of as special treatment for guys who test hot for stuff? Or are we going to see this across the board, people being treated fairly? If they're being treated fairly, I'm all for it. If I'm not seeing people being treated fairly, I've got a problem.
Well, but that is part of our job as fans, and even though we have, our podcast, I mean, we can talk about if people are not being treated fairly, because that's what gets these rules to change. Nate Diaz felt like he wasn't being treated fairly. Josh Barnett felt like he wasn't being treated fairly. Junior Dos Santos felt like he wasn't being treated fairly. John Jones felt like he wasn't being treated fairly. And these are the bullet points that begin to create those lines that say the policies need to change. So if they need to change more, then we need to continue to have those conversations to push the authorities to change the policies. So speaking of changing policies, there was an article that I saw on one of the discussion boards, and I thought it would be fun to talk about. And basically the headline was, "Raw, Virginia outlawing martial arts training."
Wait, what?
That the state of Virginia
Really?
was outlawing martial arts training. And so I'm like, oh, and everybody's like, oh, and they're writing all these nasty grams like, well, that's stupid, and things like that. And so basically what the article was saying is the state of Virginia, now entirely run by, quote, insane Democrats who support infanticide and child murder, is proposing a new 2020 law known as SB 64, which will be taken up by Democrat Senate beginning January 8th, 2020. Okay, this is from the article, all right? The law would instantly transform all martial arts instructors into criminal felons. This includes instructors who teach kickboxing, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, Krav Maga, boxing, and even capoeira. It would also criminalize all firearms and training classes, including concealed carry classes. It would even criminalize a father teaching his own son how to use a hunting rifle. Specifically, the law says that a person is guilty of unlawful paramilitary activity, a Class 5 felony, if that person, quote, now listen carefully, assembles with one or more persons for the purpose of training with, practicing with, or being instructed in the use of any firearm, explosive, or incendiary device or technique capable of causing injury or death to persons. And then the article just kind of stops. So
who's training the police?
So here's the deal. These are the kind of articles, right, that people get all angry about and things like that. But you got to read the article. You got to read the bill for yourself, right? And so what happened is they stopped the bill, the language in the bill, right when it clarifies for what purpose. So assembles with one or more purposes for the purpose of training, practicing with, or being instructed in the use of any firearm, explosive, or incendiary device or technique capable of causing injury or death to persons. Remember, it went ellipsis. Intending to employ such training for use in or furtherance of a civil disorder. So you can't train someone to use a gun if you're going to start a freaking riot.
Yeah.
You can't train someone to use martial arts if you're going to use them to be bullies. Like that. This is what the law is. It's saying you cannot use these types of the martial arts or firearms and things like that if you're planning on creating a riot, if you're planning on intimidating people, or creating any type of paramilitary type of
this
activity.
Sounds like militia language.
Yes, I mean that's basically what it is. So it was like these are those things where don't stop at the headlines, because I'm in a bunch of MMA groups and people will only just read the headline and they won't actually read it for themselves. They start forming opinions way early, and this is one of those cases where I was like, my MMA brethren, read the article first before making a decision.
Stop being such a nerd.
So I had to add this one. I know I should have saved this for a heavy bag, but I just was like, I wanted to get y'all's reaction just before I went through it. And sure enough, George was like, well, how do they train the police? because of course you're a freaking coach, so
Former law enforcement.
yeah, you would be in violation unless you read it all the way through. All right,
not for everyone.
your reading is not for everyone. All right, big fights are finally signed. Now, this was my headliner for last week, but it had to take a second seat to my my South London bruv.
Ugh, just no go, bruh. No go.
So let's go through some of the big fights. I want to get your initial reactions. Don't have to pick fights, but just want to get your initial reactions. UFC 246, January 18th, Las Vegas, Nevada. It's the return of Conor McGregor and Cowboy Cerrone.
I think that's the perfect tune-up fight for Conor, because he needs someone he's got a shot against, and he does have a shot against Cowboy.
It's at 170 though.
I still think he's got a shot against Cowboy. What it also tells me is that Conor has not been training as much.
I think it's strategic, to be honest. I think that Conor McGregor understands that Cowboy's career, all his success has really been at 155. When he went up to 170, he's getting beat. Cowboy is known to start slow.
I'm going to disagree with you. There were a couple of fights at 170. I thought he came out and starched some people, and then he started getting beat at 170. Like, he was looking good at 170 when he first went there, I thought.
I mean, we could definitely.
Here's my take on this fight, the Conor McGregor fight. Conor thinks he's got a lame duck on his hands, but he forgets Cowboy has high-level jiu-jitsu, and Conor could knock him down all he wants to. Cowboy will triangle him, will omoplata him. Like, people forget Cowboy has high-level jiu-jitsu. So I'm rolling with Cowboy on this one. Especially at 170.
So Cowboy, his last fight, he fought a couple of fights at welterweight first, but then he lost to Jorge Masvidal, Robbie Lawler, Darren Till. He lost to Leon Edwards, Tony Ferguson. Justin Gaethje.
There's a few people in there. Why is
these are guys
still going?
I mean, these are 170 years. Cowboy was coming up from 155. But what I'm saying is, when he first came up to 170, he had like 2 or 3 good fights in him right out the gate.
Yeah, and then but Cowboy Cerrone tends to start slowly, and so I think that's Conor coming in there and saying, okay, I'm going to try to take advantage of the fact that Cowboy starts slow. It's closer to his weight. You talked about how you really want to lose a lot of weight in order to really feel fit and on the top of your game. You know, I think that this is strategic on Conor's part. But I know that there are other people who felt like Cowboy is not the tune-up fight you want to have. After being gone as long as Conor has. So I don't know. I'm interested in the fight, to be honest. I think that the other thing is that Conor has to fight at 170 if he wants to crack at Jorge Masvidal.
Conor does not want that smoke.
He doesn't want that smoke. No way.
I don't know.
No way.
All right, let's move on. In February, you got Jon Jones versus Dominic Reyes. Is that the right fight?
I think Jon Jones has to stay active, and that's why that fight exists.
I heard someone making a comment in reference to Jon Jones is playing with his food in his division right now. Like, there's just no one there who's stepping away from the rest of the pack and able to give Jon a real challenge. And as a result, Jon is bored and playing with his food. He doesn't pick anybody at 205. I don't think anybody's standing up to Jon right now. With Jon's experience, with his technical prowess, and then on top of that, having top-level coaches, he's going to be holding that division down for quite some time until somebody new steps in there and really starts to make the ruckus. I like Corey Anderson. I like Dominic Reyes. I don't think they're Jon Jones caliber fighters. I don't think they're capable of beating Jon Jones. It's going to take somebody either from a heavyweight class or maybe at some point when Izzy decides in 2022 or whatever year to take on Jon. Maybe we'll see something then. But
Jared
right now,
Anthony Smith.
Jared Cannonier, I do like that one. Who'd you say, Casey?
Lionheart Smith.
He's only saying that because
I
he's
know that's
wearing
your boy.
he's
You know,
wearing the Factory
you're
X.
defending him. Yeah, you got on your Factory X T-shirt. I was gonna say
I mean,
you
I
got on
believe
your
it.
Anthony Smith underwear too. Your underoos. When was the last time you saw Anthony in the gym? Ain't he looking for you?
He was last time.
Oh man, that was the scariest day in the gym in my life. I thought I was gonna get murdered. Thanks for that though. It was a
You're
special
welcome.
day.
We had lots of fun laughing at that one. All right, so we go on from February to March. Weili Zhang, she waited that battle contract and she got it. Joanna Jędrzejczyk, the queen, gets another shot at the title.
Nah.
I like watching Joanna Jędrzejczyk fight. You know, I just think Weili Zhang is such a big. I mean, she's just so muscular. You know, like she just seems like she is way stronger than most 125-pound women that I'm.
Yeah.
I mean, so I can't wait to see if Joanna Jędrzejczyk can use her outstanding Muay Thai and see what she can do with
still
that.
outstanding since she's moved to the U.S. and like changed everything. So I will say that yes, her history is amazing.
Shots fired. Pow, pow.
But the last couple of fights, has she really looked amazing? I mean, she's struggling. She is struggling to not break her hand in fights these days. Like she's not the same fighter.
She punches so hard she breaks her hands. I mean, I know you were all up on look. I know you were all up on that karate hottie. I know it, but she outclassed her. And don't forget, I know that you are a Rose Thug No Hair Nama Yunus fan, but Rose got pile drived, or is it pile driven? And do you know who beat Jessica Andrade, Bate Estata, twice? Joanna Jędrzejczyk. Joanna Jędrzejczyk is the real deal. There is nobody that should be fighting Weili Zhang at 115. This is our 115ers. There's nobody should be fighting Weili Zhang at 115 than Joanna Jędrzejczyk. That is the test.
I can see that. I still maintain that Joanna she's progressing, if you will, as a fighter, but she's not the same for sure.
Progressing?
You think that?
She has had an outstanding Muay Thai career. Came in and rivaled Ronda Rousey for the longest, most title defenses as a woman. She was like one off.
And fought in multiple weight classes now.
And she's fought in multiple weight classes. Only other person to do that is like literally a few people. Like, come on now. You can't talk about the queen.
Yeah. Y'all are defending her like she's Beyonce right now.
I'm just saying, like, she's a bad girl.
Yeah, I like her.
I wouldn't want to step into a cage with her.
Nobody gonna take this belt. Actually, they did.
Except for Thug.
That famous last words. Thug Rose. Thug Rose did it and then kept it. And then April, I finally get my wish. 5th time's a charm. Habib Nurmagomedov versus Tony Ferguson.
Allegedly.
Lord have mercy. That's the fight.
Tony's going to kick a light pole, break his leg, and the fight's off.
Yeah, so that's the one that we're going to make. We're going to make our predictions now.
There's a rumor floating around. That says Habib tested positive through USADA.
No.
Normally, USADA doesn't declare any findings anymore, so we will never know in that sense. But there's a rumor floating around that Habib tested positive for a prohibited substance. I don't know how true it is. It's out there, though.
Wow.
That doesn't fitting in the least bit.
All right. Well, I will say this. I'm excited about the fight, and
quickly change that subject to go to something else.
Well, listen, it's like this.
It's a rumor. Yeah, I mean, what can we do but conjecture?
Right. So for me, I'm excited about it, and I really think that When we start looking at the whether or not Khabib Nurmagomedov is going to be defined as the greatest lightweight fighter at 29, 30 and 0, or Tony Ferguson is finally going to get his moment in the sun. Like, this is one of those definitive fights that's going to define all of that. And that's what I'm excited about, is that you finally get to know whether or not who's going to be the greatest at this weight. Because I don't think there's anybody else at 155 who's going to challenge those two. It's Khabib and Tony, and then the rest of the field.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, all right, and then the other one. Even though we went through all of the UFC fights, we've also got Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury 2. I'm super excited about that one.
Before you go there, there's one fight we didn't talk about. I thought
What's that?
Amanda and Jermaine.
No, that's coming up this weekend.
Okay, all right,
and we'll talk about that in just a moment.
all right.
So Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury. I think that's as good a fight as you're going to get, man. I'm excited about that one. I think, I know that I said we're not going to pick fights, but I've been saying Deontay Wilder has knocked everyone out and has had to knock everyone out in order to win a lot of these fights. Think both.
Isn't he like 40 and 0?
He is getting close to the magic number of 50, actually. Yeah. It's something like 45 or 46 and 0 right now. And one. He's got one draw, and that's against Tyson Fury. But if you go back and look at, and I started watching heavyweight boxing after the Deontay Wilder knocked out Luis Ortiz the first time. And so, with that happening, I've been watching the cards. I know that KC and I have gone around and around about this, but I've been watching the cards. And Luis Ortiz was winning on the cards. Tyson Fury was winning on the cards. This last Luis Ortiz fight, Luis Ortiz was winning on the cards. If you cannot get knocked out by Deontay Wilder, which is a tough task, I get it. But if you can survive all the rounds, you will win. And I think Tyson Fury is that guy. KC, your lips are moving, but you ain't saying nothing. That's right. So it's that's the fight that I'm excited about. Those are all the exciting fights, big fights. 2020 is the year of fighting. So I am excited. The first half of the year is going to be nothing short of amazing. Let's go on to some of the other things that we have on the run sheet. I'm going to skip the Junior Dos Santos picking fights with everybody. Wants to fight Tyson Fury, wants to fight Francis Ngannou, wants to fight, and then Fabricio Verdum wants to fight Junior Dos Santos, because Fabricio Verdum is coming back. Anything on there that you guys are interested in talking about?
Nope.
Oh, I can hear you now. Good. All right, let's go on.
That's because I was flame you.
Yeah, Robert Whitaker. Is he having sour grapes, man? He was on Ariel Helwan, and he was saying that he didn't really like being champion so much. He was like, it was a big distraction being a champion. Like, wait a minute. You work your whole life to become champion, and then you get beat, and then you're like, I never really liked it in the first place. You know what? That to me is sour grapes.
Sour grapes, but it's not like something he could say while he was champion. Like, oh, this is the worst thing ever. I'm tired of all this media attention. I just want to get back to doing my job.
Yeah, but if you didn't like being champion, what are you fighting for now? I mean, do you want to, maybe you want a BMF belt, I guess? I don't know.
You get to be the forever gatekeeper.
I guess so. But this is why I respect Israel Adesanya, because What Whitaker was complaining about was the fact that there's a lot of pressure and distractions that come along with being champion. And Israel Adesanya, in preparation for being champion, got himself a therapist, got himself a counselor, and now he's talking to a counselor and getting tools to help manage all those stressors so he can be a champion for many years to come. I think that's what kind of foresight.
Amazing.
He is.
That guy is what the MMA world needed.
Look, may not be the champ you wanted, but it's the champ you needed.
I support it.
All right, ESPN Boxing. This is kind of old news now, but I think we should talk about it. ESPN Boxing main event was off because 11-pound weight miss. So Top Rank Boxing main event was scrapped after Andres Gutierrez misses weight by 11 pounds. So it was supposed to be a featherweight fight at 130. He walked in at 141, which means he missed featherweight. He also missed lightweight, and he also missed welterweight. He missed 3 weight classes.
It happens.
He missed
sometimes.
Trying.
You know what? Whatever Andres Gutierrez was doing, it was a foreshadow for what Andy Ruiz Jr. was doing. Because, dude, fighters got 3 jobs. There we go. Number 1, you got to train. Number 2, make weight. Number 3, win your fight. Those are your 3 jobs right there.
And promote.
Well, if you're in the UFC, you got to promote.
That's right, because UFC doesn't do any promotion. They're terrible.
Unless you're one of the big ones. Now, let me tell you this. Let me tell you why I'm not a fighter.
Because you can't make weight.
Hey, there's some
and
truth
you got
to
terrible
that.
hand speed.
There's some truth to that. No, there's not truth to hand speed because I definitely. Well, it's either I don't have hand speed or your head is just big enough that it's an easy target. I don't know which one.
I wish I was in the room that had the belt and the trophy in it.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking
about. One of us has a belt. Where's your boxing belt again?
Yeah, you stole it. And
you want some
left
man?
The state. No.
KC, how long would it take you to run and go get it right quick? I've never seen it.
Look at that. KC's feed is just KC's feed just seems to be going out. What's going on with your feed, KC?
Has it ever been showcased on Combat Sports Talk?
Yeah.
You never like put it in the background.
I like where your head's at. I'm pretty sure the next show I'm wearing the belt and just the belt.
Look. All I got to say is somebody's got control of which camera shots. Oh, man, KC, where'd you go? No, there's no KC anymore. Oh, man, I can't see KC anymore.
You know, that's exactly what you said during the fight.
Yeah, because it did get dark.
Too fast.
It did get dark. It got dark. In the sunset, I couldn't see you anymore, bro.
I mean,
the darkness.
There's a population of people that did get that joke.
Just like Lamar Jackson, I'll wear sleeves.
The darkness. All right. No, the reason why I'm not a fighter is the same reason why Gerald Harris decided to stop fighting. So Gerald Harris is a fighter. He was announced his retirement last weekend. But he wasn't. He was actually on the way up to resurge his career, to restart his career, winning the fight. This guy, he was fighting Seth Bakzinski, and Bakzinski hits him in the nose in the 3rd round, and he's like, "Ain't nobody got time for this." And so you
want some of me, old man?
No. I believe he wins the fight, and he's like, I'm done. I don't want to fight anymore. I realized when I got hit in that moment, I did not want to be in there anymore. I got my win. I couldn't end my career on a loss or a win over someone who wasn't qualified to be in there against me. He's like, I beat Bakzinski. He's a quality opponent. I made that decision in the 3rd round after he hit me. That is why. I am not a fighter because when I fought Casey the second time, even though I won that fight,
Allegedly.
I can show you the passport.
All right, next show.
I will show the passport that I won the fight.
Passport versus belts. Is that what we're doing? Passport versus the belt.
So,
And a trophy. So I got 2.
I say we just run it back. We go. I say we run it back. But this time we include leg kicks.
No,
all day.
Let me tell you where
his legs,
where you
KC?
lost me.
I don't know if you want to do that.
I mean, I just came back from Factory X, and they're like, "Man, you got some leg kicks." So I was thinking about doing a 52-80 fight up here.
KC, have you seen Ryan's legs? Have you seen Ryan throw a kick?
Ryan's belly.
Have you seen him throw a kick? I'm telling you, all it takes is one, the right one on top of that.
All right, the elliptical kick all day.
We may end up having to do this.
I mean, it's on video, so we might as well.
I mean,
I'll check your. I'm gonna check and break your leg simultaneously.
No, you won't, KC. You remember the only reason the key differentiator between me and you've got all this strength, but I've got strategy. Remember, I know about your left leg.
Oh,
I'm playing matchmaker, promoter, and Dana White. Dominion has sparring exhibitions like every 3 months. I'm just saying. You can do boxing.
Wait, KC, you're an orthodox fighter.
Or you can do MMA.
Allegedly.
You're an orthodox fighter. Which leg do you put first?
Oh, for real, that's what we're going to do?
Did you play football?
You're going to try to talk me out of this fight? I'll beat you with one leg.
We know you a bit brittle. I know.
I want this fight to happen more than I want to eat later.
You big old brittle guy. That's what you are. You're big and brittle.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think we have just officially announced this fight.
Hold on. Let me go to a single shot of me right now. Let me go to a single shot of me right quick. Hold on. Let me take George off the screen here. I just want to flex for a moment. There you go. All right, KC. You can flex.
I don't know how we got so far off topic. Just know this.
We're at the end of the show, man. This is the end of the show. We can talk about whatever we want.
I just want you to go get the belt, KC.
Recover.
Just go snatch it real quick. It's in the other one. Go
so just all I'm saying is that you said it first. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. I know all your weaknesses. And if I get to live down the street from George.
Oh.
And he is a Muay Thai coach.
Has to take place in Denver.
No, now we got to try to get me at altitude. See what he's doing? See what he's doing? That's why I'm beating you in chess right now. Actually, that's why I'm beating you both in chess.
Actually,
you're not beating me. The game is in progress. How do you know I'm not just setting you up?
Because I've played you before. And George's whole game is unraveling. George's game was going so bad that he had to start a new game.
Really?
Did you start a new game? Did you start a new game? Did you start a new game?
What actually happened? The game said it was corrupted. I had nothing to do with that.
Yeah, it didn't say corrupted on my side.
I sent you a screenshot of it.
All right, hey, let's do this. We got us an amazing card coming up this weekend. This is
my goodness.
The fight card. This weekend, we've got UFC 245 Usman versus Covington. December 14th at the T-Mobile Arena, Las Vegas, Nevada. There are 5 fights on this card. Uriah Faber's coming back at 40 years old to fight Peter Yan. The king of Brazil, Jose Aldo's fighting Marlon Moraes at 135. Everybody's saying he looks like Jack the Skeleton. You got 3 championship fights on this card. Bantamweight champion Amanda Nunes versus Jermaine Durandamy. You've got Max Holloway versus Alexander Volkanovski. And then in the main event of the evening, you've got Kamaru Usman versus Colby Chaos Covington. Guys, we got to do flash fight picks. I say we do all of these fights. All of them. Uriah Faber.
I'm super excited.
Uriah Faber, Little Don. Uriah Faber, the little godfather, Uriah Faber, versus Peter Yan, up-and-coming young fighter. Old versus young. Casey, who you got?
I've got the butt chin all day.
All right, Uriah Faber. George, who you got?
I'm going with experience, man. I'm going with Uriah.
Peter Yan. Next one. Jose Aldo
really?
versus Marlon Moraes. Yeah, Peter Yan. This guy is a dynamic fighter. I know that you got a lot of experience in Uriah Faber. I like Peter Yan coming in there and basically saying there's a reason why you were retired. There's a reason why you're coming out of retirement. Uriah Faber, you were not ready for this new breed of fighter. Go back to Team Alpha Male as a baby.
35 wins, 10 losses.
He knows how to get it done.
That's a lot of experience, man. Like that's veteran game upon game. This man is such a veteran. He opened his own MMA school and produced champions. I'm just saying.
Scoreboard.
Peter Yan, no mercy. Rule number 1, never bet against the Russians.
When in Russia.
Russia.
Nope. Just look, never bet against the Russians. Period. Jose Aldo versus Marlon Moraes.
Tamper with the refs.
I don't like Jose dropping to 135, man. Guys who've there's a history of guys dropping down weight classes, not faring so well. TJ Dillashaw, for example. Mm-hmm. I don't know, man. I kind of want to go with Marlon as a result of that, just because of the weight cut. I know Jose's a better fighter. Jose's more decorated. He's got the experience. But that weight cut, man, it takes something off of your chin.
I'm worried about his head, like just the effects of cutting down. Like, it's already hard for him to make weight, and then to drop even more to 135. Like, it's just going to mess with his head no matter how much he rehydrates. He's not going to be 100% the same fighter. So I think it's got to go to Marlon. I know Jose is going to be fighting with heart, but that weight cut's going to be rough. I
agree. Those pictures that I'm seeing of him, he just looks emaciated. It makes me sad, when I see Jose Aldo trying to make this weight. Like, if you can't do it at 145, my man, maybe it's time to say that the career was a good one. I mean, you're one of the most decorated featherweights in the history of the UFC. Why not just be that? All right. So we're all on Marlon Moraes there. Amanda Nunes versus Jermaine Durandamy.
Nunes can't lose. Like, she's nobody going to take this belt from her.
What he said.
I'm with Amanda Nunes. Personally, the only person I think that could beat Amanda Nunes did not beat Amanda Nunes. So, I think Chris Cyborg had that fight, and Chris Cyborg didn't get it done. And so, I don't see anybody else. Jermaine Durandamy is going to get back. Yeah, I do too. All right, Max Holloway versus. Go ahead.
Wasn't Jermaine Durandamy? Wasn't she scared to fight Cyborg?
She was.
Now you want to go against the Cyborg killer?
Yeah.
Right.
It's not a good
farewell for her.
It's not a good look.
Yeah.
It's not a good look. Max Holloway versus Alexander Volkanovski.
Oof. I mean, I know who you're picking. You're going to Holloway all day. So I don't know why. Just to be contrarian and because I don't like you today, I'm going Alexander.
George.
I don't think anybody's touching Max at 145 right now, man. He's really stepped in and started owning that division. And I like Alex. I think he's going to be a great future champion. I don't think it's happening this weekend.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Max Holloway. I thought that the T-City fight was going to be the one that was going to expose Max Holloway, and he just cleaned that I don't think Volkanovski's going to have what Max Holloway's got. And in the main event of the evening, Kamaru Usman versus Colby Covington. Anybody scared for Kamaru?
I am. I think Colby has the skill set to make this a super competitive fight, and it just takes one moment to turn the tide. He's got the skill set of his wrestling is strong enough. His cardio is really what gets me. The pace of this fight is going to be intense. And what kills me is I want Kamaru to win this more than I want to beat you in our next fight. But Colby really does have what it takes. So I'm going Colby on this, even though it's against everything I wish, hope for, dream. Yeah. I'm also not leaving my house when that happens because I just can't deal with living in a world where Colby is a legitimate champion.
You are saying the Naja's going to take last.
No. Naja no de carry last, though. Go on, sit down with that nonsense.
Oh, my gosh. All right, George.
You brought all of the African, like my ancestors, resting on my shoulders, shaking their heads. Like, what have you done? Oh, wow. Okay.
George,
all of African out of.
Do you agree?
Sadly, I kind of do. But I'm going to pick Kamaru. But I honestly think Colby can get this done. And there are a couple of ways or a couple of reasons why I think he can. One, he is a cardio king. Two, the pressure he puts on people is unbelievable. But I think Kamaru is the champion. I think he's gonna last this out. I think we're going to see 5 rounds. And I think Kamaru is going to wind up with the decision. The only way I see Colby winning this, not that he's not going to put on a great fight, is if he knocks Kamaru out. It has to be like a devastating thing in order for him to get it. If it goes to a decision, I think the judge is going to give it to Kamaru. Also, I'm really worried that if Colby does win, that we're going to see some racial tensions flare in the UFC because it's like you're going to see a lot of other racist fighters pop up. I know Colby's thing is a gimmick, but if he wins, oh my God, just wait and see.
All right. Well, I've been on the Kamaru Usman hype train for a little while. I have talked some major crap about Kamaru Usman, specifically about him giving 30%. So here's my thing. Kamaru, I need you to give 100%. If you ain't never done it in your life, I need you to do 100% this Saturday. Please.
Oh my God.
Come in there 100%, not 30, not 40, 100%. I need it all to beat Colby. Because I think you guys are right. I think you guys are right. Colby Covington, as much as we hate the act, as much as we feel like it's the wrong persona for him, the fact is that this guy is not a punk. He is not trash talking and lacking the ability to back it up. He is worth every word he's saying about what he can do. And Usman's never been beaten in the UFC. It's never happened. He's beaten everybody. So if he does it, like Kamaru Usman is the guy that can stop Colby Covington. Otherwise, it's going to be a chaotic future. George, I'll give you the last word.
I don't even know what I was going to say in reference to that, but I don't know. I'm really looking forward to this weekend. Go ahead.
I just like how sad it got at the end of the show as we realized.
Yeah, we're like, man, Colby could actually win this fight. We have talked, like, if you are just joining us, like, there's somebody watching right now. What you don't know is that for episodes and episodes and episodes, we collectively as a show have talked trash about Colby Covington. We have just taken this dude and just drug him all over the mud because we don't like this fake persona that he is bringing to the sport. But the fact is that he is a completely full-fledged, capable fighter. And he can win this fight this weekend. But when he does, his persona is just going to get bigger, and he is going to infect more of the sport. And if he does, it's his prerogative. That's part of his shtick. And we personally, as a show, I'm speaking for everybody here, and stop me if you don't agree with this. We don't think that that's good for the sport. And so we want to see.
I got a question for you.
We want to see Kamaru Usman win, because then he's got to temper this persona that is getting out of control. George, you got a question for me?
That was my question. If Kobe loses, what happens to the persona?
The persona gets tempered, because now what happens is, if you think about the movie Ghost, remember when the bad guys die, all of the spirits come up and suck you down? Well, Kobe Covington has been above the fray with this persona, but everybody who hates this persona is just waiting for him to lose, because no one can talk trash about him legitimately until he loses. So if he loses on Saturday night, then the mob comes to consume this persona that everybody believes is fake. I think it goes away on Saturday if Kamaru Usman wins. If it doesn't, then it's here to stay.
I was going to say, do you foresee him getting humble if he loses?
100%. I believe there's two options. Either he loses and this is a fake persona, and he gets humbled, and we see the Colby Covington that was getting ready to get cut that gave birth to this. Or what we're going to see is he is going to dig deeper into the persona, and he will become the persona. It will no longer be fake. It will be him. It's the only ways it can go, but he has to lose for that to happen. Otherwise, we're going to see Colby Covington's name grow, and it's just going to, what I consider to be, an infection that's going to worsen in the sport. All right, follow us on social media. On Instagram, I'm at Combat Sports Talk. George?
Gio Stallworth on my Instagram, Facebook as well.
And KC?
I am at Push Pull Pray.
All right, you can find our website at www.combatsportstalk.com. We've got a new section featuring fighters that we're meeting and interviewing, so go and check that out. I'm in the process of updating all of the wonderful interviews the folks at Dominion Gym helped facilitate, and George, you helped introduce me to. So check out these new
Ryan, while we're
fighters.
on the subject of Dominion,
yeah,
a couple of the I guess owners and people in the know over there really wanted me to thank you for coming through. And they've seen a couple of the videos and said they were really, really nice. So I just wanted to give you that props up and let you know what they thought. Go work the other night, man.
All right, thank you so much, and I really appreciate them for giving me an opportunity, and you for introducing me to them. And Will Campuzano, that we'll be able to talk to him some more, and Mark Beecher down in Houston. We want to catch those guys and probably get them on the show and maybe do some live conversations with them as well. Shout out to, I always want to send a shout out to MMA Junkie, MMA Fighting, MMA Mania, and Bloody Elbow, because they're the guys that are keeping all that wonderful, great content that we cover here on the show. On the behalf of George G. Money Stallworth and KC Onyebuchi, my name is Ryan Smith, and I'm reminding you to keep your hands up, your chin tucked, and throw bombs. We'll see you next time.